It's been 4 months since Governor Jay Inslee signed a bill into law to make daylight saving time permanent in Washington. And that has a lot of you asking, will we now turn our clocks back this fall or not? Tonight, we verify.
It was rather cold today with our temperatures only in the 60s thanks to the cloud cover and the rainfall, and looks like a lot more of that is on the way.
And supporters of splitting Washington into 2 states are continuing their push with a booth at the Spokane Interstate Fair. So what's required to actually make that happen, both historically and legally? Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Thanks for being here with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward. It's pretty much been the story of the day. Cooler temperatures and a whole lot of rain. And just about an hour or so ago, the National Weather Service issued a flood advisory for certain parts of the inland Northwest.
Let's get straight to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in the Weather Center tonight. And Thomas, how significant is this?
Yeah, well, we saw that flood advisory because we saw about an inch of rain or more in rural Spokane County, but no flood reports. Since then, the advisory has been lifted, and now still just a few leftover showers for this evening, all kind of bunched up to the north of Spokane overall. So really northern Spokane County from Colbert through Elk, Deer Park, still seeing some light rain as of this hour, but the South Hill and downtown Spokane will be dry for the rest of this evening. A couple other light showers just moving to the north of Spokane River overall and into some of those mountains to the north. But there it is. That's what prompted that advisory a couple hours ago. About 2 inches of rain, but over a really rural area to the west of 9 Mile Falls. Got about 2 inches of rain overall. So tomorrow, a dry start to the day, but more rain and possibly more storms back in the forecast by the afternoon hours. The temperatures only topping out in the 60s and maybe 70s. And that was really the other story of today, was just how cold it was. Just 62 for the high in Spokane. I can't promise it will be that cold for the rest of this week, but we do have another period of cool and wet weather ahead of us, and I'll let you know when that is coming up in just a few minutes.
Sounds good, Thomas. Thank you. Summer is coming to a close, and with each day that passes, Spokane losing a bit of daylight.
Yes, and we will see even less after Washington makes the switch to standard time in November. And that's got a lot of you thinking about whether we may soon be able to stay on daylight saving time. So the answer to that is a complicated yes, maybe. Legislation has been passed and signed by Washington Governor Jay Inslee to make daylight saving time permanent, but until it actually gets approved by the U.S. Congress, nothing's actually going to change, and so far there's no indication on when that might actually happen. The Spokane Interstate Fair opened on Friday, and one of the booths at the fair is Liberty State, a movement to create a 51st state out of the eastern half of Washington.
But from a legal and historical standpoint, how likely is this to happen? Our Casey Decker looked into it.
The most important question arguably about Liberty State is it even possible? We've had some calls from viewers wondering if it's even constitutionally legal for a state to secede like this. So we set out to verify.
Here's the part of the Constitution that deals with new states. It says Congress can make a new state basically whenever it wants, with one exception: if the proposed state includes land that's already part of an existing state. In that case, not only do you need Congress, but the existing state's legislature has to approve the move as well. That's obviously the case with Liberty, meaning a majority of lawmakers in Olympia would have to support Liberty for anything to happen. That clause in the Constitution has come into play several times before. In fact, Vermont, the first state admitted after the original 13, had to wait for approval from New York, since that state claimed some of Vermont's territory. So that's the legal requirement. But historically speaking, Congress won't even look at creating a new state without some other stuff as well. One, there's usually been some type of referendum to demonstrate that the people living there actually want a new state. Two, Congress usually asks for a new state constitution, and how much they like that constitution often plays a role in whether the state gets approved. So how far along is Liberty? Well, they're working on getting Olympia's approval. Bills have been introduced multiple times, but never even made it out of committee. Regarding the referendum, they're working on that too. The strategy? They're gathering signatures to put an advisory vote on the ballots of every county they aim to include in the new state. That's part of why they're here at the fair. Okay, how about a state constitution? Well, they're working on that too. The website says they've written up a draft and are working on finalizing it. And as for support from Congress, well, they're a ways away from that. So we can verify it is possible for Liberty to create a new state, but they've got a long ways to go.
Now, Liberty, of course, has gotten a lot of attention for the extremist views of some of its leaders. People like Representative Matt Shea have been tied at times to violent rhetoric, but some of the others in the movement are hoping to distance themselves from that language in order to perhaps make their long-shot proposals seem a bit more realistic. Reporting from the fairgrounds, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
In other news, before the massive Amazon fulfillment center on the West Plains even broke ground, the company estimated it would be open by now.
Yes, but today we learned the company is now forecasting the opening to be in mid-2020. Amazon announced plans to hire more than 30,000 people nationwide by early next year. Employees in Spokane will work alongside Amazon robotics to pick, pack, and ship items to customers. Amazon says it's going to start the hiring process in Spokane 1 to 2 months before the center opens. Well, public records released by Spokane Public Schools show they hired a special education teacher, even though that teacher disclosed allegations of misconduct.
KREM 2's Amanda Rowley investigated and asked the district what happened.
Spokane Public Schools hired Michael Henry for a special education teacher position at Shadle Park High School in 2016. Public records requested by the district show it knew Henry had prior allegations of misconduct in other districts, but he was hired anyway. In 2 separate documents, which are part of the SPS application process, Henry admits to being put on administrative leave for allegations of misconduct. Henry said he was placed on paid administrative leave in March 2015 for allegations from 2 paraeducators that he violated the right response protocols, but no disciplinary action was taken. In the second document, he wrote he was put on paid leave on allegations of unprofessional behavior in 2015, but no disciplinary action was taken. Spokesperson for Spokane Public Schools, Brian Coddington, says the district was only aware of the information provided in Henry's application. He says the district did not pursue additional information about the allegations, that is, until a Shadle Park parent contacted the district. Richard Pope reported Henry was putting his daughter in an isolation room repeatedly where she would harm herself. These incidents prompted the records requests to Henry's previous school districts. Records show Henry was placed on leave from Mount Spokane High School in January 2015. This was due to allegations of harassment from a paraprofessional who worked in his classroom. The paraprofessional ended up getting a court-approved harassment restraining order against Henry, and a judge later found he did harass this person. According to records, Henry resigned from Mount Spokane in 2015 amid this investigation. In 2016, he received a written reprimand for calling a student a derogatory name at the Riverside School District in North Spokane County. Spokane Public Schools asked for these records in January 2019. The district also began investigating Henry for not being fully honest in his application documents. Henry turned in his resignation with Spokane Public Schools at the end of last school year. He was not paid after August 31st. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
In the meantime, the Coeur d'Alene School District has introduced a new position to schools this year of campus safety officer.
A tax levy passed in March funds 2 school safety officers at each of the district's high schools. They are different from school resource officers who are actual members of law enforcement. Campus safety officers are school employees working more directly with students. The officers say safety is their main job, but they're also there to be supporting and resources for students. The district is thinking about adding more of the officers, but that all depends on funding.
All right, still ahead tonight. Today, Congress got back in session. We'll let you know what's on the agenda coming right up.